Toastmaster this evening is Thomas Jester. So we'll start by just reviewing the agenda and all of our roles tonight. We'll start by introducing our general evaluator, who's Christine Yori. What do you do as a general evaluator?
You can just,
You can say
they can just tell us what the general evaluator does.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to be watching the whole meeting from start to finish, and I will be taking notes on how everything went, and if anything, like any distractions would happen or things like that, things that need to be improved in the meeting. I'll be noting that, and then I'll recap it at the end. Also, I'll be introducing the timer, is that correct? The timer, the grammarian, and the odd counter, and the evaluators. I'm going to also introduce those who will be evaluating the speeches tonight. And I'm hoping that the evaluators will look and try to figure out, can you point them in the right direction and improvement for the speakers. So that's what I'm looking for. Okay.
Okay. Our grammarian this evening is Yannick Guillaume. And he will introduce our word of the day and read his role as well.
All right, my role as grammarian is going to be the proper use of our word of the day, exacting. So feel free to try to use it.
What does it mean, and use it in a sentence, please?
The definition of exacting is demanding or demanding attention, particularly making great demands on one's skill, attention, or other resources. Used in a sentence, the incident showed the extent to which investment bankers were caught up in a rat race and faced pressure to beat the bank's exacting performance targets, the union said.
Thank you, Yannick. Our timer this evening is Yu Ying Wang. Can you please introduce what the role of the timer is?
The timer control the speaker's time. For example, it's for this speech is from the 4 minutes to 6 minutes. If 4 minutes I show green, and 5 minutes I show this color, yellow. And 6 minutes is the right one. You have to finish in 30 seconds. And for the tabletop, it's about 1 minute to 2 minutes. So 1 minute is to show green, 1:30 the show yellow, 2 minutes is right. And for the evaluation, there'll be 3 minutes. 2 is green, 2:30 is yellow, and 3 minutes is red.
Thank you, Yu Ying. Our evaluators this evening, I forgot to write down who replaced Mickey.
Just put John down.
She's
Yeah.
technically in charge of this whole evaluation team, so she can do that job.
Evaluate Lawrence.
I'm just telling you, technically, her role is to be in charge of the whole evaluation team, so she can
No
assign
one else
someone at
wanted
the last
this,
minute.
though. He volunteered.
Our two evaluators tonight will be Maurice Heidelberg and John Yori, just for everybody's information. And so with that, we'll proceed to the educational portion of our program, which begins with one of our new members giving her icebreaker tonight. She's been a member coming up on a month, which is we're really excited to hear and get to know Rachel Beagle.
Okay, I'm nervous, but we're going to do this. So let me start off correctly. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, I'm happy to be here with you tonight. I've been mulling over a quote from Brene Brown. He describes courage as telling the story of who you are with your whole heart. And that's what I'm going to try to do tonight. So my story is about connection. Connecting through stories, with nature, with loved ones and with myself. My love of stories came about as I was growing up in a small town in Michigan, surrounded by cornfields. And I would grab my little red wagon and head downtown to our local library and fill it up with books, and then head on back home and just read my heart out. So these days you can find me at the West Relot Library, but I've traded my wagon for a basket. I also connect stories through my career as a patient navigator at a cancer institute nearby. And a patient navigator helps individuals through their cancer journey, however they need. So sometimes that's delivering a wig or finding different financial resources, but oftentimes it's just listening to their stories. And sometimes we talk about trivial things like sports teams or the weather, but other times we talk about really heavy topics like what they want out of life or how cancer has affected their family. So my hope is to be able to share deeper with my patients in the future. This past May, I graduated with a master's in counseling, and part of that is to be able to help individuals own their story and help to rewrite it. So this is also partially why I joined Toastmasters in the first place, is because it's not easy for me to be up here speaking in front of a group. I much prefer one-on-one interactions. But in an attempt to help own my own story and rewrite it, I'm here tonight to show up and speak up. So I also like to connect with nature, so this includes like giant trees down to little tiny worms. I come from a long line of tree huggers, so I've got landscapers and tree movers and wood carvers. And growing up, we would go out to the field where the sugar maples are and boil down some sap and make some maple syrup, which is just about as Yankee as you can get. The other things that I like to do when we go on vacation is look up really old trees in the area. And so they're very special to me. I was engaged to Jake under Friendship Oak. We were married under an oak tree on a river. And for our honeymoon, we took a 2-hour ferry ride out to an island in northern Michigan, and then hiked 10 miles to this cypress grove that was 500 years old. It was really something to see. I also like to connect to nature with small acts. So on a night like tonight, as it's raining and there's puddles everywhere, the next day those puddles dry up and there's little worms out there scrambling across this hard cement. And so what I do is put down my things and grab some leaves and scoop up those worms and return them to the earth. So if you see a grown woman returning worms, it's probably me. And some might say that that's futile, but I believe it's important to that worm. So other ways that I like to connect are with my loved ones. My number one is my partner, Jake. We've been married for a whole 72 days, going strong. Yeah, and he's the reason I moved south, and he's my reason for a lot of different things. And my family is spread out from coast to coast, but we managed to keep in touch and drive each other crazy, as families do. And I have a lot of really close friends. Not a whole pack, but just a handful that I know are there for me through thick and thin. And lastly, I enjoy where I connect just in alone time. So if I find the world to be too exacting, or I feel that I'm overwhelmed or swept up in things, then I'll hide away. So even if it is Friday night, you'll probably find me at home in PJs doing a puzzle. And I love it. I'm good with that. So for me, from stories to nature to loved ones to time alone, my story is about connection and trying to best live courageously from my heart. So, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you for the introduction to you, Rachel. Actually, the patient advocate, as I think it was called at the hospital with my sister, was that when she had cancer. It's a role that's relatively dear to my family because it made it so that her journey as a teenage girl going through cancer was not so hard. So it's a very important call, not just a job. So thank you for doing that. Our second speaker tonight is our most accomplished member of the club. He has been a member for decades, we'll just say. And has achieved his Confident Communicator twice, his Advanced Communicator Bronze, his Advanced Leadership Bronze, and is currently working towards finishing up what he needs to get to his Distinguished Toastmaster before we switch over to the Pathways program, which we'll talk about next week, just so that you all are in the know on that. And our second speaker tonight is Lawrence Crump.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, tonight I want to speak to you about a really deep, heavy controversy that's going on today, right now. It's Columbus Day. And there is a great controversy about Columbus and how he didn't really discover America, but he kind of got the honor of being the one that everybody thinks discovered America. Well, then we also have a group of people who want to say, no, he didn't discover America. Leif Erikson discovered America while he was traveling. He missed the island that he was supposed to be going to and turned up landing in Canada somewhere, and then went back to his island because he was spreading Christianity for the King of Norway. But he didn't really discover America because there were people already here. And if you believe the history, that these people came across a land bridge during one of the last ice ages when the sea level was very low, and they came across through Alaska. But the real controversy is not who discovered America. The real controversy centers around what happened after America was discovered. A lot of bad things happened to the Native Americans. A lot of bad things happened to a lot of people in American history. But if we look at history, a lot of bad things have been happening ever since the beginning. So we have to be able to readjust our thinking just a little bit. Because if we want to erase all of the bad things that happened in history, erase all of the hero figures throughout history because of the bad things that might have happened when they were in power or when they were discovering or when they were doing whatever, then there will be no heroes left. Because we all have that so-called fallen nature where we might not be the perfect people that we want to be. So what we have to do is we have to change our perspective on history. We don't look at history as being good or bad. We want to look at history as being a source. of education, a source of understanding. There has been tremendous good that came through some of the evils of our ancestors. One of the greatest documents that's ever been created about government was created after Columbus discovered America. Bad things happened, but there were good things that came out of it. If you look farther back in history, there are many times where bad things happen. Even in medicine, in politics, even in education. People did bad things to learn how to do good things. May not be right, may not be wrong. But I challenge you to be exacting in the way you think about history. Let's look at the good things that happened and learn from the bad things, and then, my fellow Toastmasters, we will be able to move forward to a greater and more glorious future. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lawrence. That's actually one of the things that my wife says about history. We can't look at history through the eyes of the perspective we have today on things. We always have to look through the eyes of what it can teach us about where we were and how we overcame those things. So we're now going to move in from our educational portion into our impromptu speech portion with table topics. Our table topics master tonight has been a member of the club for about a month, and a Toastmaster for about a month now. He has taken on role after role without any complaints, so we're very happy about that. Our table topics master tonight is John Thorne.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate the introduction. Fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, I am the topic master for this evening, which means we will be going over some short stories, impromptu improv, which will give everybody kind of a chance to speak voluntarily. If not, we can ask somebody to speak. What I like about the table topics, much like Lawrence, it's one of my favorite parts about Toastmasters. There's no exacting science to it. It's basically just get up here and shoot from the hip, which is kind of like how I like to do things. That's why my wife compliments me so well, because she's not like that at all. I do enjoy that part of the, there's no preparation, and you kind of just get up here and speak about what you feel. So I did come up with some questions this evening to kind of help bring forth some thought and how you would react in these situations. So my first question is if you had 1 month or 30 days to live and money was not an option, what would you do with your 30 days? Any volunteers?
I've actually thought about this, that's why I was wondering. If I only had 30 days left to live, I know that at least a week of it would be spent in Disney World so I could see my children do Disney World before I passed. The second thing that I would do is since money is not an option, which actually makes this a whole lot easier. I'm a car guy. I like sports cars. Those who've been a member of the club for a while very much know this because I've talked about it extensively. I'd go out and buy a very specific sports car and probably drive it fast. This will probably be on the 30th day because that way if I do die, it doesn't get me short. And drive it however I feel like. So that's day 30. So day 1 through 7 are go to Disney World. And day 30 is drive a car that I probably should never drive because it will kill me. On those days in between, I probably would just say, I'm going to quit my job, pay off my house definitely so that my wife doesn't get mad at me for quitting a job a month early and not leaving her set up. But I just spend the time with my kids, full on take them out of school. Because if I know I only have a month left, I don't want to shortchange them. And so that's the essence of what I got through. And like I said, on day 30, go out with style.
Our second question that I had come up with, and I think about this all day long. I'm really excited about this because, like I said, it's one of my favorite parts about Toastmasters, and it's something that I started with because I enjoy this part of the meeting. So my second question is if you could have dinner with anybody this evening, dead or alive, who would it be and what would you talk about? Any volunteers?
Okay.
Brad.
Fellow Toastmaster and honored guests, without a doubt, I would have dinner with Napoleon Hill because he spent a lifetime interviewing the most successful and prominent men of his age. That's the Dale Carnegies, the Rockefellers, all the titans that shaped and molded what we know today as America. And he spent countless hours interviewing these guys and compiled it all into one huge book called The Laws of Success. But to be able to go and probe that guy and understand the knowledge that he obtained over a lifetime of interviewing the world's most successful people would be very interesting and I think insightful to my mission, to my cause in life. So I think that would be him. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. All right, so my third and final question for this evening is if you could just disappear right now, poof, vanish, anywhere in the world, until midnight, just like Cinderella, where would you go? Any volunteers? You have 5 hours and 17 minutes to be there, wherever it is.
There's Collins.
I will go into heaven. Am I allowed to speak?
Yes, there you go.
Come on to the front.
Joe said. So if so the question was 5 minutes, right? Vanish. I probably go to heaven to see, because in the Bible we hear so many stories. I would like to know exactly how is heaven, and that'll just bring joy to my heart because this is what we live for. I'm a Christian. A lot of times we go to church, so many different groups of Christianity, so many people teach different things. I would like to know exactly what heaven is. So when I come back, I can prepare myself to know exactly what I'll be going to. So if I had those few hours, that's what I would go to.
Thank you very much, Joe. We really appreciate you getting speaking. I really like that because I honestly was being fairly closed-minded with that question, and I was thinking honestly on places on Earth. And I did not even think about going, to the heavens or to outer space or anything like that. So I appreciate you saying those words because that made me think a little differently than I initially was. So at this time, I want to turn it back over to Thomas Jester, our Toastmaster, and I want to thank you very much for letting me speak at the time.
Yeah, I'll turn the time right side up, I guess. We'll now move to the evaluation portion of our evening. The evaluation portion of our evening will be led by our general evaluator, Christine York.
Well, so far the meeting's going very smoothly. Let me just recap on. Okay, so I'm going to introduce the evaluator, the first evaluator, Maurice. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he evaluated Rachel from the heart. Let's get his opinion. Thank you.
Okay, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, I am doing the evaluation for Rachel's icebreaker speech. And what I will do, I will just go over the questions in the evaluation guide for the icebreaker speech in the Competence and Communication Manual. First question asks, what strong points does the speaker already have? I said the ability to stand in front of the audience and to make eye contact with different members of the audience while making the speech. How well did the audience get to know the speaker? The audience got to know many aspects of who the speaker is and the many things she likes to do. Did the speech reflect adequate preparation? Yes. Did the speaker talk clearly and audibly? Yes. Did the speech have a definite opening, body, and conclusion? Yes. Please comment on the speaker's use of notes. She used her notes frequently, but not excessively. What could the speaker have done differently that would have improved the speech? One thing I put was the speaker's voice could have been just a little bit more forceful. And I realize it's your first icebreaker speech, but just a little more, not too much, but just a little more. And what did you like about the presentation? Get to know the many and varied aspects of the speaker's life. And that is the evaluation for Rachel's speech.
Thank you, Maurice. Or next. All right, so Rachel, just a few things. I loved your tree thing. I love that. It's very cool, and it makes me want to start like looking up different trees in the area and different places that I go. So that would be very interesting, because I also like nature and trees. So I thought that was very cool. But you had a nice speech. Thank you for your speaking. All right, so our second evaluator is my husband, John Yory, and he is evaluating Lawrence.
Thank you, Christine. Fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, once again, my name is John Dory. I will be evaluating Lawrence Cromwell's speech on Columbus. So, some notes that I took on the speech. I felt that it was a great off-the-top-of-your-head speech. He was basically asked at the beginning of the meeting today to speak as an impromptu speaker, and I believe the second speaker did not show up today, so we thank you very much for doing that. And I thought it was very quick-witted and very nice that you came up with a speech that was so relatable to today's exact history, and then also we're able to come up with so much information, and we're very forthcoming with that information, made it very clear. I thought you used great eye contact, and I love your movement around the room. I like that you didn't stay behind the desk, the podium, and also you kind of came out and got a little more personal with the crowd. So I like that a lot. I'm actually going to start to use that a little bit myself. But yeah, that was very nice. It was something different. As far as the use of notes, I didn't see any use of notes at all. I believe that he was basically speaking from his heart, speaking from his mind, so I really didn't see any part of it all. I like that he talked about, there'd be no heroes left if we just focus on the negative all the time. I thought that was good. That was a great line to say. It kind of got me thinking a little bit, even past that line. So that was good. I like ways that make you think. Kind of trigger thought for yourself. I thought it was a great introduction, body, and conclusion. Everything was clear. There was no, kind of blending of the three. So I thought that was very nice that you were able to kind of pick apart and see which part of the speech he was in. And also just great speech overall. I really didn't find any negatives. And I just want to thank you very much once again for the
Okay, so thank you, John, for your evaluation of Lawrence. So next we have the timer's report, which was Yingling. Yingling? Did I say that? Yingling. Okay. Go for it.
Today's first speaker, Rachel, is 5 minutes, 49 seconds. Second speaker, Lawrence, is 4 minutes, 55 seconds. For the table topic, the first one, Thomas, is 1 minute, 20 seconds. The second one, I forgot your name, I'm so sorry.
Red.
Ren, yeah. Ren is 43 seconds. And third one is our guest, John. It's 33 seconds.
Okay.
And first evaluator Maurice is 1 minute 48 seconds. Second evaluator John is 2 minutes. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go over to the grammarian now. That is Yannick. He also did the word of the day. He's going to tell us how many people said it.
All right. So first off, we are going to count filler words. Our first speech was Rachel this evening. She came in at 8 ums a minute. Figured it out. Pretty good. She had a little longer speeches, so we'll forgive her. She did a great job for her first speech. Next was Lawrence, no filler words. John didn't really do a speech, but I counted 7. Ren had 1. And was it Joe or Joel?
Joe, like Joe Benavides.
Joel. All right, you didn't have any ums, but you were using as a filler word, so I'd say it's a good. I'm not sure if I should count that for double points or not, but we'll go with 2.
All right.
Moving on to next, word of the day count. I apologize in advance if I missed anybody using the word of the day. Rachel, I don't think I counted 1. Did you use 1? Okay. 1 for Rachel. Missed that one. Lawrence used it once. John used it once. And that's all I counted this evening. And grammarian report. Everybody used their grammar pretty well. I don't think anybody abused the word exacting. So, thanks a bunch.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to go over the meeting, what I thought of it. I think the meeting went very well. It was not on time. That doesn't really bother me too much because I'm not on time a lot. I try to be here. But other than that, I think the evaluators, they all did very well. They thought about the speeches and they gave good evaluations to the speakers. Everything else went smoothly. I don't really see anything that I would change. Maybe remove the baby from distraction. But other than that, I think everything went very well. Now I will hand this back over. I guess we're going to do the education overview. Just hand it over to the table Toastmasters. Sorry. Thank you, Thomas.
Our educational overview has been prepared by one of our newer members, Ren Bartlett. He's already given his icebreaker, and I'm excited to hear what we're going to have for our educational overview.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. We all come to Toastmasters for what I originally thought was public speaking. So that's kind of obvious. I want to be a good public speaker, but twofold to that is leadership. You may think to yourself, why would I care about leadership? Well, without a leader, nothing could exist. Society would not be as we know it. This club could not operate without a leader. Our government, like the leader or not, could not operate without a leader. The world, all great empires had a leader. So the life that you live today in some way or another has been molded by the foundational institution of leadership. On that point, did you know 255 babies are born every day? Not one is born a leader. Leaders are created, leaders are developed, molded, and shaped. And a lot of the people that they surround themselves with are very influential on the type of leaders that they become. So, back to why would you want to become a leader? You may think, I don't have leadership ability in me. Well, a lot of leaders didn't think that in the beginning. You have to have purpose and drive. And I think when you figure out what your purpose is, whether it's to sell advertising or to love trees. You can lead somebody to make the world a better place. So I implore you today to find something that you're passionate about and care about and be a leader in that space. That's all I got.
Thank you, Rin, for that
You're very welcome.
very educational portion about the importance of leadership, not just in the club or in our personal lives, but in general. I really liked it. We have no awards this evening, as we have not yet received all of the new member things. Once they arrive, we will be handing those out as our awards. Now, I'll turn, I'm trying to remember the right way to say this one. I will relinquish, that's the word. I will relinquish the time to you, Ying, to go over next week's agenda.
So we need a volunteer with a different role. Who wants to be a speaker? So speaker.
No, we're gonna be out of town this week, so we can't take any roles.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
What's the
Speakers.
Speaker.
We always start with speakers.
I don't have my book. I would love to, but I don't have any way to prepare. I don't have the book.
You can pick up, you can get the entire first book online.
Okay.
Just go into, just Google Toastmasters,
I'll got it.
creative creative communicator,
Okay.
competent communicator, whatever.
So to be a
Yes,
speaker?
yes.
Okay.
This will be your second
Right.
Second speech.
speech.
One second.
So what are the rules?
Second one.
What are the rules to be a speaker? Yes, so, I don't know the rules, so. If I do anything,
This.
I need to know.
Nice.
Make a short introduction to our new guest.
So to be, to do a speech, typically we need to be a member of the club,
Okay.
which would be joining Toastmasters, and that's really the only, to do that first speech, that's the only stipulation. Other than that, there are then going to be guidelines, and as you heard, Maurice was evaluating Rachel based on certain metrics. So each individual speech will have metrics that you're trying to prepare for.
Okay.
But other than that, the only thing to give a speech is to actually be a member or a guest from another club. So every so often we do get guests from other clubs that are giving speeches here. Any other questions, Bob? Okay.
Do the second speaker? Another speaker.
I'll Google the requirements, I'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Two.
And that will be the icebreaker.
Yeah.
General evaluator.
I can do that.
Okay. And then we need two evaluator, first and the second for the speaker. Okay, Rachel.
On to table topics.
Okay. Another evaluator. Another evaluator.
I can be second evaluator.
Okay. Grammarian.
I can be grammarian.
Mm-hmm.
So Ying, what are you gonna do? Because at that point, we've pretty much used everybody who's at the table tonight. I just literally, anybody who was watching, what, yeah, done, yeah.
Well, you know what Yu Ying,
Yeah.
you know what Yu Ying wants to do.
Education, AP education.
Now, we do have Cody, Justin, who aren't here, who are typically coming. They're both having to work late tonight, as well as David, who could serve in any of the,
Toastmaster?
yeah, any of them could
Cody?
serve as Toastmaster, or
Really?
Yeah.
I have also the Pledge of Allegiance and the timer that's open. Is anybody else? Is there something I'm missing?
Nope, I think that's all your.
Oh, wait, Ed overview, that's me.
Education and overview.
That's me next
Okay.
week. I'm gonna introduce what's going to be coming down the pipe in a few years, so that those of you who are new understand what's going to be
You haven't
happening.
heard anything about
Hi,
when,
It's
when
still,
we're having somebody come. It's at the end of the year, right?
yeah. I still wanna leave you guys in the dark any longer, because we've known for 6 months now.
I'll watch it on YouTube.
You want to be a timer?
You can serve
I
as a
guess-
timer if you'd like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
So what does it take to become a member?
We'll talk about that at the, after.
Yeah.
So you could,
So to become a member, you have to fill out some paperwork so that we have a way to more or less contact you. There are dues involved in being a member of Toastmasters, both club level dues that make it so we can have rent here and food and coffee, as well as it makes it so we can pay for things like our awards. Those actually come out of the club funds, those of you who didn't know. So, other than filling out some paperwork and paying dues, that's what it really takes, and a desire to improve yourself in leadership. And part of the reason why Toastmasters is about leadership. The public speaking part is about communication. Who here has had a manager who stinks at communicating? How easy is it to work for that person? How easy is it to follow that person? So half of leadership is communication, being able to convey that this is what I need you to do, or this is the vision. So that's the first half, and the second half is actually developing the vision yourself. And so we work on both halves.
I think it's more like 70-30.
It's at least half to communicate. So, what's your last name, Joe?
Sanon, S-A-N-O-N.
Okay, I just want to make sure that when I punch it in,
Yeah.
we get it all right. And we'll just throw one of the two guys who's not here tonight on the pledge. So if you just want to come see me or Heather right after the meeting, we'll be able to help you through the rest of our joint. Unless there is business that somebody would like to bring forward at this time, our meeting's adjourned.